if you listen closely enough to anyone, they're going to give you the information that you need to influence them into doing what you need them to do. And it's applicable in hostage negotiation. It's applicable in the sports world. It's applicable in law enforcement, in the military, in life itself. And I just immersed myself in all of it. I became a team command or a team supervisor in 2001, team commander in 2004, and that's a position that I held up until the time that I left. And so it's always been, as far as my adult life is concerned, it's always been a part of me. And even after retiring from law enforcement, that's when my eyes really opened to the fact that these skills are applicable in every walk of life. And so together with Chris Voss, we went out and started spreading the gospel.
And I appreciate you giving that example, especially with your background. And I remember in your book, Ego, Authority, Failure, you talk about, and you mentioned it there, you worked as part of a plainclothes street level narcotics unit. But then also Chris Voss talks about in the forward of your book, how you were able to give a talk with the China Development at this China Development Bank dinner, large organization, one of the largest banks in the world. And the point I'm making here is, like you said, if you listen to anyone, they give you clues that adapt to nearly every situation in life, so you can be socially agile. But look at those two examples, right? Working as plainclothes, like in street level narcotics, and then being able to adapt your communication and your strategies to speak to high level businessmen in a completely different culture, in a completely different code.
Right.
Do you find that if most people really just listen, and we'll get into tactical empathy and everything in a little bit more, if they not only listened, but if they had this innate curiosity, they would be able to themselves manage these different situations, codes, and cultures more effectively?
You hit the nail on the head, man. If people would just get out of their own head and stop worrying about where they want the conversation to go, and understand that going into the conversation, I don't care how long the relationship has been in existence, 5 seconds or 5 years, there are things that you are going to discover if you just shut your mouth and listen. It's the cheapest and most effective concession that you can make one person to another. It doesn't cost you anything. And what the benefit is for the other side is we all have an innate drive to have someone else understand what our circumstances are, to understand what our experiences are, to understand what our environment looks like. And when you, as a listener, provide that for another person, you are actually changing chemicals in their brain in the moment. They're getting hits of dopamine and oxytocin in that moment. They won't be able to articulate why it's so great talking to Brett. They just know they feel better after the fact. And that's because Brett didn't do most of the talking. Brett did most of the listening. And we satisfy that need that all of us have.